Michelangelo Buonarroti grew up with a fire burning so fiercely inside him that it felt less like simple curiosity and more like a constant inner thunderstorm rumbling day and night, shaking his thoughts, demanding that he shape, carve, and wrest meaning out of the world around him with his bare hands and unbreakable will. He was born in 1475 in the small mountain town of Caprese, a place surrounded by rock, dust, and stubborn stone, where the land itself seemed tough and unforgiving, quietly whispering lessons about strength, endurance, patience, and resilience to anyone brave enough to listen. Not long after, he grew up in Florence, a city bursting with ambition, rivalry, competition, and genius, where art was not a gentle pastime, but a battlefield, and creativity crackled in the air like sparks flying from clashing swords. Florence was loud with talent, crowded with egos, and overflowing with masterpieces, and young Michelangelo absorbed all of it like stone soaking up heat from the sun. As a child, Michelangelo was serious and intense, the kind of boy who watched silently while others laughed and shouted, storing every movement, expression, and emotion deep inside his mind like heavy blocks waiting patiently to be carved. He disliked school, disliked rules, and deeply disliked being told what to do, but he loved drawing with a passion so strong and necessary it felt as natural as breathing. His notebooks filled with sketches of bodies, faces, muscles, bones, and movement, drawn with such fierce concentration that the world around him often faded into nothing but distant noise and flickering shadows. He drew hands gripping, arms straining, backs twisting, and faces filled with tension, already obsessed with strength long before he ever lifted a chisel. While other children chased games through the streets, Michelangelo chased form, balance, and power, studying how people stood, walked, strained, rested, and carried the weight of their own bodies. He believed the human body was the greatest masterpiece ever created, a perfect machine shaped by nature itself, and he wanted to understand every curve, every muscle, every stretch of skin and bone that allowed it to move. Stone dust became a permanent part of his clothing, his hair, his lungs, and his life, and he wore it like a badge of honor, proof that real work always left real marks behind. He trained in workshops where marble chips flew like white snowstorms, where chisels sang sharp metallic songs, and where mistakes were punished instantly and without mercy. Michelangelo learned quickly that marble was honest but unforgiving, rewarding patience, respect, and precision while exposing even the smallest flaw without sympathy. He worked longer hours than anyone else, often alone, often exhausted, convinced that too many voices weakened a strong idea and too much comfort dulled true greatness. Where others saw rough blocks of stone, Michelangelo saw prisoners' figures trapped inside, waiting desperately and silently to be freed. He believed sculpture was not about creating something new, but about revealing what already existed beneath the surface, hidden and waiting. Every strike of his chisel felt like a careful conversation with the stone, a dialogue built on trust, where one careless move could destroy months of effort in a heartbeat. He studied anatomy obsessively, even dissecting bodies by candlelight, not out of darkness or cruelty, but out of fierce respect for truth and structure. Michelangelo wanted to know not only how bodies looked, but how power, motion, emotion, and tension lived beneath the skin. He wanted stone figures to feel ready to move, breathe, or speak at any moment. When he carved the Pieta, he transformed cold marble into grief so gentle, tender, and human that viewers forgot they were looking at stone at all. People stood in stunned silence, amazed that sorrow could feel soft, calm, and heartbreakingly alive beneath their eyes. Some even whispered, unsure how something so heavy could feel so delicate. Then came David, from a massive, cracked block of marble that others had rejected and abandoned for decades. Michelangelo carved a towering figure filled with calm courage and tightly controlled strength. David was not celebrating victory, but waiting for it, muscles tense, mind sharp, eyes locked on a danger only he could see approaching. Florence erupted with pride and awe, and the statue became a symbol of courage, intelligence, and quiet power. Michelangelo, exhausted and aching, did not celebrate for long, quietly turning his thoughts toward the next challenge, waiting to test him. Despite calling himself a sculptor, Michelangelo was ordered by the Pope to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, a task he protested loudly, stubbornly, and repeatedly. He insisted he was not a painter, that the ceiling was enormous, the work unfair, and the conditions miserable, but once he accepted the task, quitting was never an option. The Sistine ceiling became a test of endurance unlike anything he had faced before. He painted lying on his back high above the floor, neck burning, arms trembling, paint dripping into his eyes as giant figures slowly came to life overhead. His body suffered, his vision blurred, and his patience was tested daily. Days blurred into nights, nights into years, as prophets, heroes, and divine scenes spread across the ceiling like a universe built from muscle, tension, and movement. Michelangelo worked mostly alone, surrounded by silence, pain, doubt, and crushing pressure, turning physical suffering into breathtaking beauty, one stubborn brushstroke at a time. When the ceiling was finally revealed, crowds gathered below, staring upward in disbelief, unsure whether to speak, whisper, or simply stand still forever. Some cried, some gasped. Michelangelo had turned a ceiling into a cosmos. Yet he was never satisfied. He returned to sculpture, architecture, and poetry, pouring emotion into words just as fiercely as he poured strength into stone. He designed buildings with bold shapes and powerful curves, believing architecture should feel alive, grounded, and strong rather than light and decorative. His poems revealed a quieter side, filled with doubt, faith, longing, and inner struggle, showing that beneath the fierce artist lived a deeply thoughtful soul. Michelangelo did not chase comfort, praise, or ease. He chased perfection. His temper was sharp, his patience thin, but his dedication unmatched, and people slowly learned that greatness often arrived wrapped in solitude. As he aged, his body weakened, but his spirit refused to slow, and he continued carving, drawing, designing, and learning far beyond the years when others rested. He once said he was still learning, a simple sentence that captured a lifetime of striving rather than settling. When Michelangelo died, the world mourned not just an artist, but a force of nature that had reshaped stone, space, and imagination itself. Today, people travel across oceans to stand beneath his painted ceilings and before his towering statues, feeling small, amazed, and deeply inspired all at once. Students, artists, architects, and dreamers study his work, learning that discipline sharpens creativity and effort fuels genius. Kids hear his name and imagine facing a massive block of stone, daring to believe something extraordinary might be hidden inside, waiting for them too. Michelangelo's life teaches us that creation is not always gentle, joyful, or easy, but it is always meaningful. He proved that patience can carve beauty, struggle can shape greatness, and even the hardest stone can be taught to breathe. Every time someone refuses to quit, keeps working through frustration, or chips away at a difficult dream, Michelangelo's spirit quietly stirs again. His story echoes through stone halls and painted ceilings, reminding the world that greatness is built slowly, painfully, and bravely. And if you listen carefully, his legacy still whispers, work fiercely, shape boldly, endure bravely, even stone can learn to breathe.